2.3 is problem solving with rational numbers in fraction form. So 2.2 I believe was decimal form. This time we're actually working in fraction form. So you'll have to recall some of your manipulation tools with fractions. Working example number 1, adding and subtracting rational numbers in fraction form. So for part A, 2/5 minus a negative 1/10. So first, let's do some estimating. 2/5, 2 is pretty close to half of 5, so it's close to the fraction of 1/2. Negative 1/10 is quite a small number, so it's very close to 0. So if we take half and we subtract 0, we're left with 1/2. That part's fairly straightforward. Calculation, let's take a look at it. 2/5 minus negative 1/10. We have a 5 and a 10 as our denominators in the bottom, so we need to have a common denominator. If we list the multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, etc., and the multiples of 10, 10, 20, 30, and so on, we see that 10 is a common multiple for 5 and 10. So that's the lowest common multiple. So that's going to be a convenient one to use as our common denominator. To get there, we take 2/5, and to go to 10, we know that we're going to have to multiply that by 2. And if we multiply the bottom by 2, we have to multiply the top by 2. So 2 times 2 becomes 4, 5 times 2 is 10. So now we're dealing with 4 over 10 minus negative 1 over 10. 10 is common denominator, so we can just keep that as our bottom. And then we can turn this whole subtraction bit into the numerator. So it becomes 4 minus negative 1. 4 minus negative 1, we're going to add the opposite, so that becomes 4 plus 1, which we know is 5. So 4 plus 1, 5. 5 over 10, well, lowest terms, there's a common factor of 5, so we can divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So it goes down to 1/2. So, two-fifths minus negative 1/10, your answer is 1/2. Which, our estimate actually worked out to be exactly that. So, our estimate was luckily bang on. So, is the calculated answer close to the estimate? That would be yes. Try another one, part B. 3 2/3 plus a negative 1 3/4. So we're dealing with mixed numbers, and we have a common denominator of 3 and a denominator of 4. First off, let's estimate. 3 2/3 is very close to 4. Negative 1 3/4 is close to negative 2. 4 plus negative 2 works out to be positive 2. So our estimate is 2. So now let's do the actual calculations. Rewrite the mixed numbers as improper fractions. That's the first step. So 3 2/3. Each whole can be represented as 3 over 3, because 3 over 3 is 1. So if we've got 3 wholes, then 3 over 3 plus 3 over 3 plus 3 over 3, plus the fraction piece here, 2/3. So that's 3, 6, 9, that's 11/3, which is shown here. For negative 1 3/4, in this case we've got 4 in the bottom, so a whole is, this negative 1 would be equal to negative 4 over 4, as shown here. So negative 4 over 4 plus negative 3 over 4. When we do that, common denominator of 4, negative 4 plus negative 3 is equal to, and the negative is here, so it's a 7. That's the one technique. The other technique that I use is I'm multiplying those. 3 times 3 is 9, and then you add 2. So that becomes 11 over 3. Over here, do multiplication. 4 times 1 is 4, and then you need to add 3. So 4 plus 3 is 7 over 4, and it's negative. That's the technique I use to convert to improper fraction. Anyway, we know what our numbers are. 11 over 3 plus negative 7 over 4. We're trying to add two fractions together, so we need to have a common denominator. Again, list your multiples of 3 and 4. 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. 4 is 4, 8, 12, 16, etc. Lowest common number in this case is 12. So we'll use that for our denominator. 3 times 4 gives you 12. So 11 times 4 gives you 44. 4 times 3 gives you 12. So 7 times 3 gives you 21. And don't forget your negative. So now we've got two fractions, common denominator of 12. And now we can combine the numerators together. So 44 plus negative 21. And that's all over 12 now. So just look at the 44 plus negative 21. That's the same as 44 minus 21. So that works out to be 23. So we have 23 over 12. This is an improper fraction. So 12 goes into 23 once, and there are 11 remaining. So our answer is a mixed number is 1 and 11 twelfths. Now look back. Our estimate was 2. 1 and 11 twelfths is very close to 2. So based on our estimate, our calculation is very close to that. Method number 2, add the integers and add the fractions. So do them separately. We can say that 3 2/3 plus negative 1 3/4 is the same as 3 plus 2/3. That is true. It's 3 wholes and 2/3, so it's 3 and 2/3. We're still doing an addition here. Negative 1 3/4 is the same as negative 1 plus negative 3/4. Now, because this is negative, you got to remember to have the negative symbol on both the fraction part and the whole number part. Both of these pieces need to be negative. Now, if you combine your whole parts, you've got a 3 and a negative 1. You can write them side by side. The order of this doesn't matter. It's just adding. And then you can put your fraction pieces together. 2/3 plus negative 3/4. So 3 plus negative 1, well, that's the same as 3 minus 1, so that's just 2. And then here we've got 2/3 plus negative 3/4. So we've added the whole numbers, now we've got to look at the fraction piece. Again, common denominator, we're going to go to 12. 3 times 4 gives you 12, so 2 times 4 gives you 8. 4 times 3 will give you 12. So if you multiply the bottom by 3, you multiply the top by 3. 3 times 3 gives you 9. This one stays negative, this one's positive, and this 2 carries down from the whole numbers. Now, again, the 2 carries down, that doesn't have to change. We can add these two fractions together. They have a common denominator of 12. So then we combine this to be a numerator. 8 plus negative 9. And again, carry your whole number 2 down. 8 plus negative 9 is the same as 8 minus 9. So that gives you negative 1. Here's your negative. And it was over 12. Now this can get a little confusing. The number 2 is the same as one whole plus another whole that's made up of 12/12ths. This is still 2. It's a little weird looking, but it is the same value as 2. And then we're subtracting 1 over 12. So now, let's combine the two fractions. 12 plus negative 1 over 12, and this whole number stays the same. 12 minus 1 is 11, and it's over 12. It's the same answer we came up before. And yes, it's close to the estimated answer of 2. Next up is a show you know. Please go ahead and do that.